So it's May 2023. The first Contact story pack just dropped in March. And now, you know what? I don't even think I know how to describe what the PDS Arctic and Custodian teams have just pulled off. I don't think I can do it. I'm going to try, but I don't think I can do it. Hello, Legion. This is Hadrian. Thank you for being here, and welcome to the Stellaris Galactic Paragons expansion, and a commemorative gameplay series 5 years in the making. It's only mildly gratuitous fan service. This is High Dominion 2. And yeah, it's May, less than 2 months after First Contact, and we're getting the most comprehensive overhaul of the game's leader progression and governing system we've ever seen. And that's to say nothing of the return of sector editing, new options to retool notifications and the UI sidebar, customizable auto-exploration, army and fleet builder enhancements, and a ground combat rework that lets you capture planets without boots on the ground. Oh, and cooperative Empire control too, for free. Yeah, you heard correctly. Picture a 2 or 3 player game where you and one or more friends share control of a single empire against another group of players doing the same thing, or not doing the same thing. I wouldn't be the first Stellaris content creator to openly float the possibility that we're dealing with the most ambitious ever expansion and patch combo for Stellaris, but we pretty much are. Everything I've just mentioned is a non-exhaustive list from the combination of the Galactic Paragons DLC and the free 3.8 Gemini patch available today, May 9th, 2023. Links to the release notes for both are in the description below. As for this video, we're going to dispense with detailed coverage and jump straight into gameplay. We'll be sure to cover plenty of the new features over the next hour and in future series entries. I've had the chance to play several early game runs, but I've restrained myself from playing an entire game so I could save it for you. Many thanks to Paradox for giving me a chance to check out a pre-release build and debut this content just in time for the release. If you're new to the channel, my name is Hadrian. I cover a variety of thoughtful, immersive gameplay experiences in an unapologetically old school, daily episodic format, as well as with update coverage and discussion of the channel's most popular titles, of which Stellaris is most definitely one and has been for a long time. The original High Dominion series aired in 2018, accompanying the Apocalypse expansion, and this series features a version of the High Dominion of Syndar from that series, but with a fresh coat of paint for 2023 and a new expansion pack. Let me introduce you. Long before the first Sundrians walked among the stars, the isolating nature of their homeworld's terrain had firmly molded their society. Driven by conflict, political intrigue, and conniving savagery, ever-distrustful rival factions vied unyieldingly for dominion, simultaneous control of the highest, most advantageous peaks and the deepest, richest valleys from each region. The image of the first hyperlane traveler taken from the observatories of Syndar, however, marked a cataclysmic shift like none before it. A new dominion was formed, a global coalition of every known dominion of Syndar, and the Sundrians stepped forth into the heavens with one purpose: to dominate all who dare to threaten the High Dominion. So that's more or less, with a few changes, the same description from High Dominion 1. And the species, the Sundrians, has remained, I believe, completely unchanged. There might have been a few tweaks, but I didn't make any major changes to the Sundrians. They are intelligent, they're strong, they are resilient, so their defense armies do additional damage, they're harder to invade. They are quarrelsome, so they will generate traditions a little bit less quickly. They're decadent, their workers and slaves are not as happy. This will definitely be, as the description mentioned, this will be a domination-driven, slavery-driven playthrough. These are going to be raiders, they're going to be slavers, but they're also going to be, if we can steer the narrative in this direction, we'll have to see, they're also going to be hegemonic. They're going to be imperial in their ambitions. So this is going to be a powerhouse, or at least we're going to try to make them a powerhouse force on the galactic stage. But as for that force, as for their government, they are a military junta, which means they hold an election every 20 years to select a new ruler. We have Kandrith, scion of Indri, who is the initial leader, and we'll talk about how we've customized him in just a moment. But we're using the new heroic past civic. This is new with Galactic Paragons. It increases the leader starting traits and reduces the maximum number of negative traits that leaders can have across the board, not just for the leader of the entire civilization, but for each leader in the game. And it also unlocks the Grand Storyteller Council position. almost every civic in the game has, I believe every civic, actually, every single one, has an unlock for a council position and or some kind of agenda that you can pursue in the game. And the agendas have changed as well. Leader agendas are much more in-depth as a mechanic than they used to be, and we'll look at that once we get into gameplay proper. But as you can see, the Diplomatic Corps Civic unlocks the High Ambassador Counselor trait. Again, Heroic Past unlocks Grand Storyteller. But the Diplomatic Corps is just representative of the fact that the Sundrians have had to pull together in spite of their differences and the history of their society. So debate and rhetoric are rather important to them. And so because of that, they have additional envoys, they have additional diplomatic weight because they're used to arguing things out to get their way, which of course, on the galactic stage, they're going to be a little bit more oppressive, but within their society, they have a very strong diplomatic core, hence that civic. They're authoritarian, xenophobe, and militarist, and I do want to take a look at the options for the ruler so that there is just a bit of a preview for how this has changed. First of all, you can say definitively what type of leader you want your initial ruler to be. Doesn't matter what you pick. I mean, you can have a scientist as your leader, same as this has always been the case. But now it has much more meaning because it determines which leader traits you have available to you. Now, Kandrith is a governor, and the trait that I've chosen is principled. So the Empire gains, when Kandrith is a counselor, 2 stability. And notice that that's counselor, not leader. So as long as Kandrith is on the council, even if he gets replaced in an election, as long as he remains on the council, he will bring that bonus to the table. So I've given him the principled trait, and of course these traits will improve as time goes along. That's one of the amazing things about this new system. We'll talk about it once we kind of get going in the episode proper again. But leaders in Stellaris now have a much more in-depth sense of progression. It's not quite a full narrative-driven character system like you would see in Crusader Kings, for example, but it's a huge step in that direction without necessarily the intent to go all the way in that direction. It just gives a lot more depth to the character system in ways that we frankly have been pining for since the early days of the game's life. So let's go ahead and just say done with the High Dominion and take a look at our settings. We are going to play on a large galaxy. This is the same as Clandestine Curiosity. So Spiral 4-arm galaxy. I think we might have changed this. Large 800 stars. I'm going to do 8 AI empires to begin. Now you might think, isn't that a little bit low? Don't you think you might be able to spread out a lot and not have a lot of competition? Maybe. But the thing is, you can set this to 0 and still run into a pre-FTL society that within the first 5 or 10 years of the game ascends to the galactic stage, and by the time you meet them in the first 50 years of the game, they're still capable of challenging you and defending themselves against you. And that's when you set the AI empires to 0. So there is going to be the possibility for more than just 8 empires to be around the galaxy. This just means that there will be 8 starfaring empires at the beginning. We're starting without any advanced AI, 1 to 3 Fallen Empires randomized, 1 to 2 Marauder Empires randomized, and then everything else more or less default. We're playing on Captain difficulty, same as last time. And aside from that, I don't believe anything has been tweaked. This is pure default. So, while the game loads up, lest I forget, thank you to all of our new nobles and champions. Becoming a member of a YouTube channel you're subscribed to is like subscribing to a creator that you already follow on Twitch, and it increases how much your viewership supports the channel by 300 to 400%, at least. Champions at around 2,000%, which is why their names are up in lights in every intro like this. Member badges and emotes in chat and in comments are just the 2 most visible perks. You can see a full list of them by clicking join, which depending on your device is either right next to the subscribe button or beneath the channel intro on the channel's front page. Memberships help me spend less time catering to YouTube algorithms and give me more freedom to focus on the kind of content the Legion's already here for. So whether you're a member or a long-term subscriber or both, or whether you're literally our newest Legionary, thank you for the generosity with which you have supported and continue to support the channel over the years. Oh, and in case you're curious, here are the next few emote unlocks in the pipeline. All right, here we are in the Sin system looking at Syndar Prime, and I'm going to click this notification, and immediately there are going to be some raised eyebrows for those of you who have not seen the changes yet. So notice we now have one researcher for all three categories. There's no longer a need to match a particular researcher at all times to each category, whether at the beginning of the game or later. You have one head researcher, and they are on the Galactic Council. I've already done some reorganization of this, by the way, so if I were to unlock this, notice that I now have the ability to move all of these up and down and change which of these sidebar items corresponds to F1 through F10. So I've got it set up roughly the way that it's been in the past with a few changes, and you'll probably see me fumbling around, because I've definitely done this in my solo play. You'll see me fumbling around looking for a particular button because they're a little bit different from what I'm used to. But the thing is, now you can customize them, so you can have everything accessible, including the ability to pull up technology with a hotkey again, which is just lovely. So let's go ahead and lock that. Again, this is now our governing council. Kandrith is at the head of the council. He's the executor. But we have the Minister of Defense, Satu, daughter of Nock, who is an admiral. Then we have Korb, the daughter of Dirk, who is a scientist, and this is the head of research. And then we have special traits. So again, Kandrith is principled, and because he's a counselor, he's bringing additional stability to the Empire. Now you might think, wait a minute, it didn't say stability +2 on the screen just a moment ago. Well, it's stability +4 because he's actually principled level 2, as opposed to principled level 1. So stability +2 for principled 1, but stability +4 for principled 2, and you can level it up even higher. And it looks like Satu has logistic understanding, so across the entire Empire, all ships and armies have less upkeep, particularly armies. And then we have the Mining Rush leader trait for Korb, the daughter of Dirk. Minerals from jobs +2.5%, and that's of course just level 1 for both of them. And there are 2 additional slots which I haven't unlocked yet. Now, I mentioned that agendas are a little bit different, or maybe I didn't mention it very much in depth, but let's take a look at it now. Right now, we are running the Infinite Opportunities agenda. This is how the game starts out, and it gives you 30 months before the agenda is ready to launch. So we can wait 30 months. So that would be like, 2.5 years into the game. And we would be able to launch this agenda, which right now it's giving us +4% citizen pop happiness. And then in just 2.5 years, we will be able to have +10% citizen pop happiness. Now, what's interesting is that, and that will run for 10 years once you've launched it. What's interesting is that when you select agendas, we have these options here, which all do the same thing. There's an initial modifier, and then there's the modifier that becomes available once a certain amount of time passes so that you can launch the agenda. And you have complete control over this, and more agendas unlock as you play through the game, mainly as you unlock tradition trees and give you options to customize how your bonuses are unfolding in ways that have never really been possible before. It's really, really lovely. So we also have the edicts screen, of course. So we can take a look at this as we begin, because it's always wise to begin a game of Stellaris with some review of what your policies are. So we have an expansionist diplomatic stance, which is accurate. We have an unrestricted war philosophy, oppressive vassalage for subjugation war terms, indiscriminate orbital bombardment. Orbital surrender acceptance is allowed. This is, again, a new feature that allows us to take control of planets without boots on the ground if we bomb them into submission. Really nice new feature. And resettlement. The policy controls whether or not we are allowed to forcibly relocate pops between planets is allowed. First contact protocol, is aggressive. Initial border status is closed, unsurprisingly. We're xenophobic. Economic policy is militarized, so we skew towards alloys and away from consumer goods. And of course, I could always change that up if I feel like I'm suffering with consumer goods, but for now, we'll stick with the militarized economy so that we're producing plenty of alloys. We are a military society, after all. Trade policy is set to wealth creation, which is, as usual, the only option at the beginning. Robotic workers are allowed, population controls are allowed, slavery is allowed, and purging is definitely allowed. So this is going to be kind of an intense playthrough compared to the pacifist run we just had in Clandestine Curiosity. So let's take a look at what our research options are. We have physics research from researchers plus 20%. Yes, absolutely. Society research. Yes, absolutely. Do we have all three? Yes, we do. Glorious. So we're going to let those run, and it's going to take a while, but that way we will have the best research speed boosts that we can start the game out with in all three categories, which I can never complain about. This is our home system of Sin, Syndar Prime, several other planets. It looks like we are technically the second planet from the sun, but the first doesn't exist anymore. So we really are the first in a lot of ways. So if you haven't seen my Stellaris content before, I tend to take the beginning of the game fairly slow and enjoy the narrative. I will read more of the narrative events. Once we get later into the game and start to look at the big picture, there will be less like in-depth reading of narrative events and more high-speed gameplay. But especially since we have these new mechanics playing out, I'm not going to be running on speed 2 or 3 very often, definitely not 3. For these first couple of episodes, because I want to allow these developments not only to emerge at an enjoyable pace, but also I want to be able to explain them as they come up and also learn about the things that I haven't quite had the chance to experiment with yet. So let's start with our construction ship and send them to the Atris colony. Now that's all of our excess minerals. Let's now go to fleet management and take a look. Oh, just kidding. Not fleet management just yet. We're going to go to ship designer. All right, our basic corvette is the Anvakiris class. I want to go ahead and get these ships changed. So we're going to undo the automatic builds just by pretending to replace some items. All right, so we have a light station, Cadiranis. I'm actually okay with that design as the starter design for defense platforms. Let's go ahead and do another one. Ship roll, screen, looks good to me. And this is the, let's see if we can, yeah, Cadiranis. Okay. I like to have a little bit of uniformity in naming schemes. The random generation of names, depending on which name list you're using, can be a little bit temperamental. This one I chose, this is one of the changes I made to the High Dominion of Syndar. It's not the one that we used before, but I think the sounds still fit the High Dominion, and the randomization seems to be less of an issue here. So, yeah, let's go ahead and add one more type. I might mess with this a little bit later. But if we set up a gunship, then we'll have one with lasers. Ka Muntis. I like it. All right, so the Anvakiris has 2 mass drivers and nuclear missiles. Let's go ahead and, yeah, on Noranis. All right, so it's basically a brawler. Let's set up a gunship where we'll have lasers and nuclear missiles. So essentially what that means is for every pair of corvettes, if we go across both of these classes that I've just set up, you're going to have 2 lasers, 2 mass drivers, and 2 nuclear missiles shooting at you. I kind of like that idea. So we'll begin with those as our basic corvettes. And let's actually jump into the fleet manager now and arrange for more ships to eventually be in the fleet. I'm not going to build them just yet, but notice that there are some new buttons on the screen. There is a copy template button, which is amazing. It's one of the things that I'm really excited about because it means that when I want to make a new fleet based on a fleet that I already have a template of, like if I just want to make a copy of a fleet, I can now do that very easily. And you can also overwrite fleet templates. So you can, if you have an existing fleet, but you want to take a larger, more complex fleet and just map it onto another fleet and then allow that fleet to expand into that new template, you can do that, which is really amazing. So that is my initial setup for the first star order. Kind of a cheeky name, I guess. And now we have some exploring to do. It looks like we might have, yeah, we do. There's our first colonizable world right there. We have an alpine preference, if you didn't notice that. We'll take a quick look at our species again. Just for, okay. Just for posterity. We have an alpine preference. So alpine world habitability is what we are most interested in. Again, we are intelligent, strong, quarrelsome, and decadent. Now, I don't want to get too far into the weeds with the various user interface changes and the details there. We'll kind of cover those as we go, but I want to point out one really cool thing that happens. I'm going to wait for it to occur, and then I'll point it out once it happens. The discovery of alien life. The ATS Caderanis has made a startling find on TUS 3. This is our neighboring system. The planet is teeming with alien life. For the first time in history, we have encountered life forms that did not originate on Syndar Prime. This amazing discovery has silenced those who believed we were alone in the universe. Although none of the alien creatures found on TUS 3 are sapient, it is likely only a matter of time before we encounter beings that are. We may not be alone out here. All right, so we got some society research for that. Always a good thing. TUS is a pretty decently sized system, so it's going to take a while. ATS Dar Episuris completed the construction of a mining station in orbit of Beatrice Colony. So, the High Dominion of Syndar is abuzz with news of the alien organisms discovered some time ago. While far from intelligent, there is life out there, an inescapable reality, and a deeply unsettling prospect. Disconcerting. So if you're new to Stellaris, a lot of those kind of responses from the interface are based on the ethics of your society. Since we're xenophobic, any mention of aliens is going to be met with a little bit more anxiety and distrust in the tone of the responses. Our recent encounter with alien life forms has reignited and made suddenly more urgent the old debate on how we should approach contacting any potentially intelligent alien civilizations we may meet. While some advocate taking hostile preemptive action against them, others advise caution, pointing out that it would be wise to learn more about the aliens' capabilities before we risk antagonizing them. I'm going to go full roleplay here, and we are going to say that we must ward off those who would threaten us. Our policy on first contact would be set to aggressive, which it already is, so we're just keeping it as it is. Now, I have the option on Syndar Prime to start to clear out some blockers, which only appear on the capital at the beginning of the game. So we're going to clear out these sprawling slums. And when that's done, we'll actually get a free extra pop, which I can never complain about. And also, let's go ahead and build a second science ship so that we can hire a new leader. We're at 4 of 6 leader capacity, so we can definitely have a second scientist running around. The scientist that is running around, by the way, this is our head of research. Check that out. So this is a government official who also is allowed to maintain control over a science ship. That's a really important aspect. Oh good, we've got an archaeological site in the TUS system. That's a really important aspect of the new system, is that you don't have to have someone who is, with the exception of the leader. So the executor is only the executor, but the Minister of Defense can also be an admiral. The head of research can also be in a science ship. It's really cool. So this is our head of research running around, but I can hire another scientist, and notice this screen is completely different than it used to be. So the existing scientist that's running around has that mining rush trait, but they're also an archaeologist. So I will actually be using them on that archaeological site, I imagine. But we can hire Roba. So we have a mining boost and a food boost, an anomaly discovery chance boost. Ooh, that's going to be the one. Yeah, that's going to be the one. Gitu, son of Baga. So they're 41. They're a little bit older than the other option at the top, but I'm going to go ahead and hire that scientist. And now look at this. When I select automation for this ship, rather than sending them on a specific order, we have the ability to say, I want you to explore and survey. You can also say that you want to have your science ships, a specific scientist if you want, specifically looking through the anomalies that you may or may not have either put off or that you may or may not have even noticed within your territory. So they will search out anomalies that have not yet been investigated. Same with archaeology sites, and same with special projects like debris or pulling up ships from the depths, anything like that that requires a science ship, you can now automatically customize which of those options you want your automatically exploring science ships to look through. So I'm just going to start with exploring and surveying, but that's a pretty big deal. I'm going to give the order to upgrade these ships.
Vessels upgraded.
Didn't really change anything. Contact report, remnants. The administration on Syndar Prime received the report on the alien remnants with some apprehension. The remains in question are now widely considered to be definitive proof of unknown forces once having been active in the galaxy, though some prominent Sundrian thinkers reject this in favor of identifying the traces as freak geological formations or results of curious natural phenomena. Remarkable. Alright, so I can start to build my fleet up a little bit, but I don't have to just yet. I'm going to build a mining station in Sin, and let's go ahead. I think it would be worthwhile to build another construction ship as well. Probably, let's go ahead and build 2 more, because I want to be able to get a lot done in a reasonable amount of time. Alright, so we've cleared out that first blocker. I can safely, I think, clear out... You know what? I'll just give the order to clear out the other 2 and be done with them. I'm going to send this construction ship to TUs because it won't be long before this ship is done surveying. It looks like there's just 1 planet left, and then we'll be able to incorporate TUs and colonize TUs 3. Where are we, by the way? Okay, so we're somewhat near the galactic core. Interesting. I haven't forgotten about that thing that I wanted to show you, by the way. It's going to take a moment for it to happen, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's actually, like, it makes me very happy. It'll be a bit of an adjustment.
Star system charted.
But you'll see. The TU system has been fully surveyed. Let's go ahead and build a starbase for some influence and some alloys. Mass extinction. Our first stumbling steps into the void beyond Syndar Prime were not motivated solely by curiosity or a desire to conquer the unknown or a need to leave a mark on the galaxy. The biosphere of Syndar Prime has undergone rapid changes in the past few centuries, and prominent scientists warn that Syndar Prime may be faced with the beginnings of a mass extinction event. That cyclical purging of life that is inseparable from planetary existence in the greater cosmos. A research plan has been put together to study a number of planets rendered uninhabitable by major astronomical incidents or planet-bound catastrophes. We hope that by reconstructing these events, a similar fate may be avoided for Syndar Prime and the Sundrian race. It falls to you, as executor of the High Dominion of Syndar, to ensure that this expedition is carried out. Wow. In Memory of Mercedes Romero starts playing right now as I'm reading this. Can we appreciate just the timing of Andreas' score here? Consult the situation log for more details for a Sundrian future.
Situation log updated.
I haven't had this event in a while. Mass extinction through the ages. So we have several places that we need to investigate that are somewhat near us. A broken planet, burn planet, chilly planet, desolate planet, noxious planet. Again, some of them somewhat nearby, but let's see. I want to have you search here and then here. And let's go ahead and move towards, because we know that one is there. So I'm kind of eschewing the automated approach for the... Ah, damn. I didn't hold shift at the right moment. That is one thing that's a little bit different about this. You have to make sure... I'll show you what I'm doing here. So if I want to queue up science ship automation, I have to hold shift now. Not here, like we're used to, but here. Otherwise, it just undoes the queue, like you just saw. But yeah, I haven't gotten that event in quite a while. So that's an interesting start to the series, and I'm loving it. All right, tradition available. We are going to go for expansion. This will unlock the superior colonies agenda and give us additional colony development speed. All right, so notice that it's told us that a new council agenda is available. We still have 10 months before this agenda is ready to launch, and I do want that happiness boost. I think that'll be good to have for the first 50 years of our existence. I think it does last 50 years or maybe 10 years. All of a sudden, I think it's 10. But Superior colonies is the agenda we've just unlocked. So colony development speed will be 25%. Yeah, so it's 10 years, not 50. Young colonies get planetary build speed plus 50% for 10 years. And it might vary by agenda. And there might be some bonuses that increase the length. Actually, I know for a fact there are bonuses that increase the length of that particular effect. So superior colonies, we won't switch to that just yet. I want to launch this agenda before I do anything else. And if the agenda system is not quite making sense yet, once I launch this agenda, it might click a little bit more. Looks like we have another Alpine world nearby, which is fantastic.
Construction complete.
I want you to move here, and then I want you
Blocker cleared.
to move there. All right, so we can build those mining stations and TUs off the bat. I'm going to give the order to colonize. Oh, hello. All right, well, hang on. Let's buy the stuff that we need. There we go. Forest mandate. I like it. All right, so we have scheduled our very first colony. And we will be able to have a second one
Anomaly found.
here in the Savasic system. We are receiving a weak signal from the surface of this moon. This is in Sargas. The source appears to be some kind of tracking beacon. Research, please. All right, Syndar Prime needs a little bit of love, jobs-wise. So let's see. Most obvious opportunity would probably be just to go ahead and build, since I've got the slot, let's build some civilian industries, because our consumer goods are not going to stay in the black for much longer unless I attend to that. All right, so I just need some alloys, and I will be able to build, there we go, that starbase. And then Savasic is one that I very much want as soon as possible. Let's go ahead and briefly step up to speed 2 while we wait for some of these initial developments. A small short-range transmitter has been located on the surface of Sargas 2A. It appears to be an ancient survey marker placed here eons ago to mark a large deposit of precious metals. The miners it was meant for evidently never arrived, as the deposit is still here. Fascinating. All right, so that was a good resolution to that anomaly.
Construction complete.
I'll take it. All right, we have taken control of the Abdroid system. And here we go. We can launch that agenda. It's been 2.5 years. Couple of leader-related things to do. So first of all, I'm going to launch this agenda, and now our citizens will have a 10% happiness bonus for 10 years. Now I have the option, so we have this launched agenda, that's what's running. I can now say, as you can see here, launched agendas. I can now say that I want to run a new agenda as an initial agenda, and it's going to take time to build up. That first one was almost done at the beginning of the game. The next one's going to take considerably longer. So we have lots of options. Evolving Society is one that I've enjoyed in the first couple of playthroughs that I've run because, you know, that additional monthly unity helps us unlock traditions faster. But we also have Display of Power. I'm going to go through these one at a time for those of you curious, because this entire system, this screen we're looking at now, is like the biggest change to Stellaris and Galactic Paragons. So if I'm going to stop and be meticulous about anything in this episode and in the coming episodes, it's going to be this. So max influence from power projection is increased, war exhaustion is reduced, and militarist ethics attraction is increased for the initial modifier. And then you get more of that bonus once it launches. So this is Display of Power. Really, really nice, especially if you have a strong fleet. That power projection bonus will help you. Evolving Society, mentioned that one already. The Unity bonus is very handy. Expanding the Council, we won't do that right now, but that's something that I probably will unlock before long, because having an additional slot to put a leader in place and give the Empire bonuses is huge. Preserve the Order. So this increases worker, slave, and worker and slave pop resource output, and it increases the ethics attraction of authoritarianism. When it launches, it increases those bonuses and also reduces the political power of workers and slaves. So it's very much an authoritarian agenda that you can set, especially if you're having issues with revolts. You can preserve the order and use that to reduce the political power of those who might undermine you. Strong on our own, another really good one. I mean, I love, honestly, all the agendas. They're really cool. Pop growth speed, plus 5%. Trade value, minus 5%. Xenophobe ethics attraction, plus 10%. So it takes away from your trade value because you're not able to trade outside of the Empire, but you are... you're growing your population faster because you're getting it done on your own. Xenophobe ethics attraction is increased as well because you're focused inwardly on your own empire. You're not really interacting outside of the empire. And notice that when it launches, there's also a stability and encryption bonus. And then finally, there's superior colonies, which I mentioned. So I'm going to go for evolving society, which again, that gives us 10% unity right away, extra, which is really nice. And once it launches, we'll have a much higher bonus for a 10-year period. Also, Korb, the daughter of Dirk, our head of research, has leveled up. So she already has the Mining Rush leader trait. So I can increase the mineral bonus she gets, or I can increase her archaeology trait. So right now I just have the option to improve one of her 2 traits. I can't add a third. It's random, as far as I can tell. It's also, it might be based on level when you actually get new traits. But I think there's also a degree of randomness. But that's really handy because now this scientist will be able to take on this archaeological site sooner than later.
Construction complete.
So we're going to finish surveying the Sargus system. I'm not sure what's taking quite so long, though.
Star
there we go.
Charted.
Ah, Kandrith has leveled up. So again, this is a very nice sense of progression with leaders that was absent in previous versions of Stellaris. It's all new and amazing. So we can improve him with private mines, which will give us monthly minerals. And that's just a leader trait, by the way. So he doesn't have to be on the council. We just, because he exists, we're going to provide additional monthly minerals. And then this is a leader trait, however, that is council-based. So when you're on the council, you'll get less ship and army upkeep. Now, I already have that for one of my leaders, so I'm definitely going to go with private mines so that we can get those additional minerals from Kandrith. And now we have an additional tradition available to us because we're getting so much bonus unity. I love it. So I will go ahead and say that I want new colonies to start with 1 additional pop. Probably a good idea. And it looks like we are able to colonize in the Savasic system, so let's do that. We'll stay on speed 2 for now. Seems pretty cozy. If things start popping up rapidly, then I will slow it back down. So the colonization ship is arriving on Tius. These 2 planets that we found near us so far are Alpine. They match our empire as far as what is our specific preferred home planet, but they're also both very close by, which is nice. So we've got 2 colonies almost right away. That hasn't necessarily happened. I mean, it's Stellaris. It's very randomized. You can have good starts and bad starts, but that hasn't necessarily happened in even just my practice playthroughs in this build. So I'm heartened by that. The first Sundrian colony, our colony ship managed, with surprising grace, to maneuver between the massive peaks that are so prevalent in the jagged landscape of Forest Mandate. It touched down in a sheltered valley that will serve as an ideal first landing site. The ship has been permanently converted into the administrative headquarters of the new settlement, and its reactor core is in the process of being removed, so that it may serve as the colony's temporary power source. Hundreds of small tents and prefab shelters have sprung up around the former starship's massive hull as colonists begin to disembark in large numbers, the first Sundrian city on an alien world. A great day for the High Dominion of Syndar. So we got some engineering research from that, and I'm going to go ahead and have my scientist come back and excavate this site first. So I've just done a Control-Shift-click there to bring that order to the front of the queue. And now we can build those mining stations. Looks like there's an ocean world with a megastructure, a ruined megastructure of some kind in Sugenia. Hello? We've got a ruined mega shipyard right around the corner. That's a gift, if I've ever seen it. Okay, well, let's give the order to colonize this planet as well. There we go. All set. I liked that the... Yeah, post-Ranu mandate. I was just going to say, I liked that the first colony had the word mandate in it. Siskvi mandate. Oh, there was one. I went right by it. There it is. Enthras mandate. Let's go with that. I'm not going to do that for all of my colonies, but the first two, there's something about the inclusion narratively of that word mandate, you know, for the beginning of the colonization phase of the game, that just is very fitting to me. All right, so let's build a starbase in Sargas. Absolutely. We still have some exploration happening. We have an extra leader slot. I could fill that with another scientist. For now, I'm just going to let my 2 scientists have at it.
Anomaly found.
A small rectangular object on the surface of this planet is deflecting all scanning beams like a mirror. Our sensors are unable to determine its material composition. Research. Please. Tell me more. I must know. How are we doing on research? Let's have a look. Okay. 10 months remaining on engineering. Wait for it. I just gave it away.
Complete.
When the research finishes, something cool is going to happen. And then I'll show you a little bit more of the under-the-hood changes that they've made in this build. Because it's really awesome, especially for long-term players, people that have been dealing with the minutiae of Stellaris for a long time. While conducting surface scans of Ryganoth 4, Science Officer Gitu, son of Baga, and the crew of the ATS Karubis discovered what appears to be an artificially carved slab of rock covered in alien writing. They have not yet detected any other signs of alien activity on the planet, and exactly how this mural came to be here is a mystery. We have prepared a special project to translate the text.
Situation log updated.
So let's go ahead and give the order to translate that alien mural. Get some research bonuses from it. Syndar Prime does have an additional slot available, but I'm not going to do anything with that right now. We've got those mines being built. I will send this construction ship to the Ryganoth system. So we have Sin at the center to use to the galactic west. We now know without a doubt that a thriving biosphere is not something unique to Syndar Prime. Both the scientific community and the public at large are eager to learn more about the various forms of alien life found throughout the galaxy. Efforts to catalog the life forms we encounter are already underway, but our xenobiologists have urged us to focus our planetary survey efforts on habitable, life-bearing worlds, a commendable initiative.
Situation log updated.
I want those research bonuses. Let's do it.
Special project complete.
Nice. Science Officer... Ooh, that's a good one. Gitu, son of Baga, has managed to partially translate the alien mural discovered on Ryganoth 1. The text contains a staggering amount of data, and the mural evidently serves as some sort of low-tech library. It's actually kind of ironic, because I think this is one that popped up at the very end of Clandestine Curiosity, because we investigated the... Was it... I think this was the one that was in the Contingency's home system. Yeah, that's a funny coincidence. So I've seen this recently, but at the end of a playthrough. This normally shows up close to the beginning, as it is showing up here. And the mural evidently serves as some sort of low-tech library. It describes in broad terms the collected technological knowledge of an alien civilization that dominated this region of the galaxy some 80 million years ago. A lot of it is already known to us, but the data does contain several promising leads for technologies we had yet to consider. There is enough data here to keep our scientists busy for decades, but we will need an orbital research facility to continue the translation efforts. Intriguing. Okay, Gitu, son of Baga, has leveled up. So this is just our scientist. So this is not a counselor, but we can give them the Scrapper leader trait, and we'll have additional monthly alloys simply because this person exists. It's great. This is a new type of notification, by the way, the toast notification. They pop up in the upper right and then disappear at the appropriate moment. There's a customization option here, but I want to wait just a moment longer to show you something cool. Pop growth speed plus 10%. Yes. Yes, please. That is the boost that I want next. All right, so Ryganoth is going to be a very good system to have in my territory. Beyond a shadow of a doubt.
progress.
2 months.
Construction complete.
And then I've got something cool for you. I've been building it so much now that it's going to be anticlimactic. But for me, it's exciting.
Technology secured.
You see what just happened? You see? The game's paused. The game's paused. I finished a technology. The game paused. Hadrian, you ask, is that a new feature? Did they set it up to automatically pause when you finish research? No. Even better. Even better. I set it up. Because this screen allows you to change. You can't change the type of notification, unfortunately. I was kind of hoping that you would be able to set up certain types of notifications to be either standard notifications or toast notifications, like the one that you just saw in the upper right. Can't do that yet. Maybe they'll add that in the future, who knows. But they've already given us an amazing patch and expansion, so I'm not going to start suggesting new features. But you can, on any type of notification that you get where you typically find yourself wanting an autopause, or maybe if there's an autopause and you don't feel it's necessary, you can toggle it. And I did that myself because I always find that I want to take a moment to consider new research options whenever research completes. And so again, it's going to be a little bit funny because I'm so accustomed to pausing on my own when research completes. Now the game's doing it for me, so by hitting pause, I'm going to be unpausing the game. But it's a very nice change because it ensures that things kind of stop and just halt for a moment so you can make that very important next choice. So what have we just finished? We have engineering research from researchers is now at 20% faster. Or, well, no, that's not the right way to put it. They're producing 20% more research points. That's how you look at it. So I'm going to go for the worker pop resource output bonus. Also because that unlocks additional technologies down the line. Can't ignore that bonus. But yeah, that's the feature that I was excited to tell you about. I really built that up, didn't I? Forest Mandate has been completed, and Ryganoth has been charted. Nice. Go ahead and build a starbase in Ryganoth so that we can get those research points, especially the physics research. Pretty nice. So the star itself can be studied for additional physics research here, which is nice. All right, so see what happened there? Technology secured. I unpaused. It was actually because I was looking at something else, but it was a funny coincidence. So, we have... Ooh. You need amenities, don't you? Okay. You also need housing. What I'm going to go ahead and do here is build a city district so that we can have more housing and amenities sooner. I know that I could also build... There are other things that I could build, and I will have 2 slots soon, so I'll very strongly consider building things that will more specifically boost my amenities. But for now, I'm going to just get a new city district built, because that will provide 1 clerk job, that's 2 more amenities, and 4 more trade value. So it's not even a lot of amenities. That's, it's good for getting started, but I'm going to need to fill one of the new slots. That's the other thing, is that it will unlock a building slot. So I'll have the option to build... I want to probably build another research lab on Syndar Prime, but then maybe some holographic entertainment so that there's some additional amenities. Ruined mega shipyard. In the vast reaches of the Sugenia system rests a vast structure of alien design. Despite its decrepit state, our scientist confirms that the megastructure is in fact a combination of several construction yards, a mega shipyard. If we were to acquire the knowledge on how to repair this magnificent industrial facility, which we will, our production capabilities would increase immensely. Fascinating. Okay. It appears that the passageway descending towards the underground chamber has suffered some mishap in the past. A cave-in has filled the lower part of the shaft with boulders and dust, in turn making the excavation venture slow and frustrating. Keep digging. So we found 30 minor artifacts in the first go there. Yeah, so we've got an artificial chamber deep beneath the surface, its purpose and origin unknown. Magnification revealed an excavated shaft leading from the surface to the subterranean vault. Further analysis will require sending an expedition down. Yep. Okay. So, we've started to explore that system, which means I'll be able to incorporate it into my territory fairly soon. Let's also... Our Minister of Defense can have one of their 2 traits upgraded. I think I would like... Oh man, I like both of these. The additional alloy income or better upkeep. Let's go for the alloy income, scrapper 2, because we've got a couple of scrappers, so that's really going to help us with alloys while these initial leaders are alive. Society research from researchers. This will give us more of an appreciation, too, for the living leaders as well, which I'm really excited about. So, ooh, 2 good choices. I am going to go for planetary unification first. I want the additional monthly unity as soon as possible.
Construction
because,
complete.
I mean, I want the pop growth bonus, too. Absolutely. But we're going to go for the thing that unlocks more traditions sooner. That's one of those things I try to shoot for. Most of us try to shoot for early in the game. All right, so... Oh, wow. The Sugenia system is actually a rather large system. This science ship is going to be here for a while. Kind of tempts me to train another scientist and have a 3rd ship running around because this archaeological site is going to take a while. But I think it's worth it. This is a talented archaeologist. They're getting good experience. It's our head of research. But yeah, one of the things I'm most excited about with this new playthrough, if it's not very obvious from all the stuff that we've covered and talked about in just this episode, is that now that we have this governing council set up, there's even more of a focus on the life and contributions. And there's stuff you haven't even seen yet, but there's more of a focus on the life and contributions of every leader character in the game. And then, of course, there are the Paragons, which I haven't even gotten into because they're so exciting that we just want to kind of let that emerge as we play through the game. It's the major feature of the expansion, is the possibility of legendary leaders to appear with their own story and narrative potential for your empire. And it's completely randomized and fun, but we'll get to that. We'll kind of cross that bridge when we come to it. So this is just the governor of Syndar Prime, or the sector governor of the core sector. So right now we can improve either his trader trait or his architectural interest trait, which will make building costs cheaper and improve planetary build speed. I think I would like to make building costs cheaper. That sounds like a great idea. Let's do that. So Pult, son of Thub, got the architectural interest 2 trait. I can't wait to edit my sectors again, let me tell you.
Construction.
I've done it in offline play, but it's so nice to have that back. It's been gone for so long, and now it's not gone anymore, and it's great. I'm going to go ahead and give the order to reinforce.
Technology
Nice.
secured.
So I just gave the order to reinforce the fleet, and it's going to be at full strength when it's fully built. Physics research from researchers has been improved. Notice the game has paused. Ooh. I'm going to go for field modulation. It's not every day. Again, one of the funny things that's happened with Stellaris over the past couple of years is now that so many different technologies exist in the game, and there are so many different possibilities, so many different cards that can be, played or that can be pulled into your hand when you have to make those choices there.
Anomaly found.
That what kind of occurs, hang on, the mineral composition of Sugenia 5B does not match projections. Yeah, look into it, please. What kind of occurs is that some basic technologies, like energy boost from all energy jobs, they just don't come around very often. So you can sometimes, in different playthroughs, have basic technologies that have just not shown up for the entire game, just based on sheer happenstance, which is not bad. It's just an artifact of how the game works in its present version, which has so many different technologies and a system of research that very effectively gives you, it presents you with a hand of cards that are drawn that you can then
Sphere
pick.
of influence expanded.
One from each of 3 categories in order to determine how you progress through the research tree. Teachings of warriors. Across the barren fields of Sugenia 5B, there are indications of old battles being fought. Beneath the lifeless ground, our researchers on the ATS Carubus have found bones, metallic shards, and most surprisingly, a container filled with documents. If we send the documents to our homeworld for translation, we could potentially learn more about this war and who fought in it. I love this art, by the way. It's not new art, but it's great. It would also be possible to simply sell them off as antiques. Send it to our homeworld for research. Translating warriors' texts.
Situation log updated.
All right, so we're making good progress here. Let's see if we can finish surveying the Sugenia system. And also, how are we doing on research? I love having this bound to a hotkey again. Oh my goodness. It is incredible to be able to just hit a button and pull that up. So again, if you want to see what I've got for my hotkeys, I've got fleet management and claims off of hotkey. But everything else, government, situation log, contacts, market, tech, society management, which that's traditions and relics. Leaders,
Star
species,
system charted.
planets and sectors, expansion planner, all set to hotkeys. It's great. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give the order. Oh, there's actually an archaeological site in Sugenia too. Very nice. So I'm going to give the order to have this system added to our territory, and I will... Ooh, now we have the option to add a new... Ooh. So this is our head of research. We can give her Eye for Talent, which gives all leaders, while she's a counselor, additional experience gain. Yes, please. And with that, we're 55 minutes into the gameplay recording, give or take, on my end. It's not going to show that for you because you had some front-end stuff as we went over just the expansion and talked about everything that was added. But I'm going to go ahead and stop this first episode here. In the next one, we are going to continue locking down the area around us and see if we can't discover one or two. We might be able to get to two of them if this archaeological site finishes. One or two, maybe even three of the mass extinction through the ages event planets, which I'm very happy that event popped because it doesn't happen every time, and it gives us a little bit of narrative to chew on as we start off the brand new series. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to follow along. If it's not your first time or even your second, look for the join button to access unique emotes, badges, and other perks. New episodes are going to be coming out every day at 3 p.m., not 4, 3 U.S. Eastern Time. Comments are always welcome. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.